I don't care if you think Kevin Hart is funny or not. You can't ignore him because he's everywhere. He does that by design. So as a business owner, I say, why don't you? Why don't you do that by design and make it so you're everywhere?
Are you looking to improve your sales skills without compromising your values? Welcome to Sales Made Easy, a podcast for business and personal growth. Join Harry Spaight. Now, here's your host, Harry.
What is the good word? Today, we're going to talk media of all things. When you think of media, what comes to mind for you? Well, I'm guessing you're probably leaving something out because I did, and probably many of us do. But today, Dr. Barrett Matthews is going to help us to better understand why we want to be involved with media to grow our business. So just to give you a little background, Dr. Barrett Matthews is the visionary behind Media Boss Pro, a media powerhouse that elevates brands, captivates audiences, and boosts visibility. Something we all want. With a background in media production and a trailblazing spirit, Dr. Matthews revolutionizes media presence. He is showing top-level businesses how to improve their visibility and profitability. So, Dr. Barrett Matthews, welcome to the Sales Made Easy podcast. What's the good word?
Thank you, Harry. Man, the good word is let's do it, man. I'm just excited to be here. I appreciate you having me, man. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So you and I had a conversation a couple of months back, and I thought, man, this guy brings a ton of value. And I know our listeners are going to enjoy listening to what you have to say. So when we think of media, just to help our audience understand, what are some things that come to mind when we think of media? Because the first one, obviously, is social media.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
what else?
And it's funny you said that because usually when I say media, people automatically start talking social media. And I said, I didn't just limit it to social media because social media is probably one of the latest forms. But, we talk print media, we have book, we have magazines, newspapers, and we have newsletters now. Then we have, and blogs, of course, that's print media. Then we have audio media, such as podcasting and radio shows. And there are still radio shows out there. And then we have visual media where we have YouTube, and YouTube, you can have your podcast on YouTube as well. We also have streaming video such as Roku TV, things like that. We have film. Film is incredible. A lot of business owners are using short documentaries to tell people why they do things instead of just what they do, because they give them a behind the scenes look at different things. So there's various forms of media that you can use to put your message out there. And we can't just limit it to social media, but definitely want to include social media.
Wow. Yeah, you just covered a lot of different areas for us. So, my first question is, where does somebody start? It's just like you could literally be everywhere, and that may be overwhelming for some, or it's just not knowing where to start. So, how do you help someone to figure out where they should start?
Great question. And then my first question to them is always, what is it that you want to accomplish? If you're looking for more visibility and you're serious about it, then I usually start them with a podcast. And the reason I start them with a podcast is because it's easy for you to talk about something that you love.
Mm.
It's easy for you to talk about something that you're good at. Well, if we record that, we have ourselves a podcast. Doesn't have to be perfect. Because to be honest with you, people don't want to see perfect. They want to see this. Then if we record that podcast and include video, we can now put that podcast on, say, YouTube, as well as having it on all the audio outlets. And just so you know, YouTube is actually a bigger platform for podcasts than Spotify and Apple are now. So it's definitely a thing you want to do is have a video podcast. But let's say you take that and you transcribe the content from that podcast. You can if you got enough of it, you can turn it into an ebook. So now you have audio content, video content, and you have written content just like that. And you can take that and do more with it if you want to, but it's just a way to get started. I always start people with podcasts because if I tell them to write something, they have to think too long and hard, and the writer's block and all that stuff. But if I start having you talk about it, you can talk about it for days because that's what you love. It's what you do.
Oh my goodness, that is so true. And you just opened up my eyes to a couple of different things.
I saw you laughing. I said, something
Yeah.
came out that.
Right. Ebook. I'm like, ebook. I'm like, oh, okay. What am I missing out on? Because I've got 100+ episodes of podcasts, YouTube stuff, and it's like, yeah, hello. So this podcast has already been very valuable for me.
There you go.
Thank you for sharing that insight. It's
Right.
been great chatting with you. Have a great day. Just kidding. All right. So this idea of podcasting, you said it's like a great place to start. I
Mhm.
know people who have been thinking about podcasting for a couple of years now,
Yes.
right? They're just, they've got ideas and they're all concerned about perfection, I think.
Yes.
Right? So talk to me. Is that the deal? Is that what's holding people back?
That is what's holding them back. They think they have to be perfect. And I tell people all the, like, for instance, when I do my podcast, I don't edit out my mistakes. I keep
Oh,
them in there
yeah.
because people want to know that they're talking to a human or they're listening to a human being who makes mistakes. You know why? They make mistakes.
Mhm.
So they want to be able to relate to someone they're listening to. And I keep my mistakes in there. I can laugh at myself. It's my show. I can laugh at myself on my show. So the thing is, you should feel free to do that yourself. Here's the thing. We all have heard the expression that nobody's perfect. Well, if we know that nobody's perfect, why are we trying to be perfect? It doesn't really make sense. So just go ahead and do it. You'll find that 3 months, 6 months from now, your podcast won't look or sound the same as it did when it started because you've gotten more comfortable, you've grown with it. But it won't get to that point if you don't start it. You have to just start it, and you'll be amazed at how simple it is and how fun it can be too. So just start it for those people who are, like you said, for you. And I know those people too who've been waiting for years. Oh, I got to get my equipment right. I got to get this. Stop it. Those are just excuses. Just start it. You will be amazed at how simple it is and how much fun you can have with it.
Oh, that's such great advice. And what about people who start a podcast and then maybe they change their mind and they say, well, this is not really what I'm great at talking about. I'm not really passionate about this. I'm more passionate about this over here. Is
You
there
can
any
stop
problem?
it. I mean, you can. I would rather you do that than to quit.
Yeah.
I would rather you say, you know what? I don't like this particular niche. I'm going to go to another one. I would also say do it in more of a transition. If you can do it in a transition of the same podcast
Mhm.
instead of stopping a podcast and starting a new podcast. You can change your topic in the middle of it. I mean, I've done that.
Yeah.
So I would tell people to just try to do it in the same vein of your podcast so that you don't lose the people that were listening already.
Right. Yeah.
If you have people listening already.
Yeah. But I mean, in the beginning, there's like 3 people that are listening, right? It's not,
Yeah.
it's not
And,
like you're,
don't let that discourage you either,
right.
please. Because I mean, I hope you're not doing it just for your ego. So
Yes.
just,
Well, okay. So explain that to me. So even if we have 3 people listening, what's the benefit? What are some of the benefits that would happen in spite of that?
well, let's put it this way. Let's say that these are people that would probably make great clients for you. Would you pass up an opportunity to speak to 3 leads? If you
Yeah.
got people that are willing to listen to you and learn from you, give them the same value you would give 3,000. And you never know what'll happen. Three can multiply very quickly if you give them enough value. Or it could stay at 3. Doesn't matter. If these are 3 people who are loyal to what you're doing, give them the value. What's it costing you? Come on. It can actually bring in something instead of costing you. So just go ahead and share it with them because you'd be amazed. I have people complain about not necessarily 3, but they say, oh, I only have like 50 people listening. I said, well, if someone offered you a speaking that was in front of 50 people, would you take it? They go, yeah. I said, well, that's what you have.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, yeah. And plus, in the beginning, you're still getting the kinks out. You're still learning, your volume might be different than if you're having guests. And there's just all kinds of things that could be going on.
Yeah,
None of it needs to be perfect, but you still want to be better, right? Over time.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And you
What's-
want to share your, see, because I mentioned earlier about ego. I hear a lot of people say, well, I want to share my message. Do you really? Because if you want to share your message, you won't care if it's 3 people or 30,000 people. You want to share your message. What some people want to do, I heard a friend call, they want to get Facebook famous. And they just want to be seen and noticed on social media, and so that people can say hi, you're great, and give them a little heart and so forth. I mean, if that's what you want, that's fine. But and it's, don't get me wrong, it's okay with to get recognized. I think we all like recognition, but I hope that's not your main reason. I hope you do want to share with some people and let that come back in a reciprocal manner.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I was just reading about validation, and I used to think that validation, there's my dog saying hello.
Hey, dog.
Validation was, it had to come from someone else. Someone else saying, "Hey, Harry, nice job on that."
Mm-mm.
Then recognizing our validation comes from within is better,
Yeah, most
because we've put in the time. We know our skill sets. We don't really need, if we need someone to validate us, I don't know if this is the word, but we can quickly become devalidated, unvalidated, if someone
It is
validated. One of those words.
one of those words.
There's my mistake, and we're going to leave it in.
Please leave it in there, because we both may be wrong. Someone will chat.
So you get the point, right? If we're constantly looking for that validation from others, then we're really losing sight of what we're trying to do, which is to serve people and provide value for them. And if
Exactly.
we feel like that our message isn't good because of something inside of us, then maybe we want to look in the mirror. If we're hearing it from someone who just may not be a fan, then that's not good either, right?
Exactly. Exactly. You hit it right on the head.
Excellent. So you've been podcasting for how long?
Well, if you count the internet radio before the name podcasting became,
Okay. Yeah. But let's count it.
yeah, let's count that. Okay. I would say probably since '09, I think. '09,
Okay.
2010, maybe. Yeah.
Okay. What's been like the big change for you in the whole internet radio / podcasting?
Well, I think there's two. One is the global impact of it now. It's so big and so vast now that, your podcast really will be seen and heard all over the world now. I mean, I've done podcasts with people in other countries all over the world, which is cool. People I've never met, probably never will meet. But that's the fun part of that. Then there's the fact that video has really taken hold of this, and it presents a new audience for people, because people that generally listen to podcasts are not the same people who watch podcasts, and vice versa, because people consume their media the way they want to consume their media. And I like that. And then there's the fact that what I have found with some people is how we can use YouTube to bring in more viewers, bring in more subscriptions to the YouTube channel, which can in turn into more profits, because they can be more clients.
Yeah. So that raises a couple of thoughts here. One is about people thinking that they are going to monetize their podcast. Probably heard that a million times.
Oh God, yes.
Okay. So what's the mistake in thinking about monetizing the podcast, or is there one?
Well, it's not a mistake in thinking that you can monetize it. It's just thinking that it will just bring in money. I mean, it's like they think that if I just plug in this cord here, money's going to come in to me. And no, I heard someone say Joe Rogan ruined it for everybody. But people think, oh, Joe Rogan's making these millions of dollars. I can make some. Well, first of all, let me explain one thing real quick. Joe Rogan was already a celebrity. Joe Rogan had money behind him, and then Spotify sponsored him, and that's where he got the millions of dollars. So now let's start from there. Okay, now going back to you can make money with your podcast. There's several people who are making money with their podcast, but generally people don't make money the way that you think. A lot of we're taught get a certain number of downloads on your podcast. And these are audio downloads. Get a certain number of downloads on your podcast, and then you can attract sponsors. That's true. But you just heard Harry say a little while ago that most people start out with like 3 people. So you're not gonna get that many downloads to start with. It takes some time. It takes time. And then you may get sponsors interested in it. Not a whole lot of money coming in from there. So you have to be creative in how there are other ways you can bring money into your podcast. I mean, one of the ways I do when I produce other people's podcasts is I build breaks into their podcast where they can insert commercials from people that they know of who want to sponsor their podcast, and they keep all the money. So this is the way for them to build up their listenership and build up their monetization of it. Also, I get people ask me this question here, and I think it's almost, you're going to think it's silly, but they ask me, so can I offer my own products and services on my podcast? I said, you better. I mean, who else is going to offer your stuff? Why not you? And so, yeah, you should sell your stuff on your podcast. Now, don't make it a pitch fest, but definitely make an offer on your podcast for people. You definitely should do it. Then, of course, you can have guests on where they have affiliate programs, and you can offer their product or service to your audience and get a cut out of it. Make sure you set that up before the podcast, and vice versa. You could have your guests offer your services to their audience as well. Those are just a few ways. Of course, there are other things like Patreon out there. They can help you. There are a lot of ways you can monetize your podcast. Getting partners to go on with you to actually give you money to just be a brand evangelist for them. And you can also, sometimes they give you product as well. So it's a lot of different things you can do to monetize your podcast. But most podcasts are not going to just make money just because you have a good podcast. You got to do a little bit more with it and be creative with it, because it's not the cash cow that people think it is.
Right. It's really a great hobby, and it gives you a platform. So I looked at,
I wouldn't say a hobby. I would call it a platform.
So I would do this regardless if I was in business or not, because I just love meeting people. So people like me who are radio enthusiasts, like I wanted to be a disc jockey when I was a teenager. Yes. And I just thought about this recently as I was posting about go back to your youth to think about what you were passionate about. That may be something that's missing in your life. And I went, oh my God, when I was 17 or 18, I was calling radio stations to see if they would hire me. Here I am many years later doing this.
It's funny to hear that, because when I was in college, I started out as an architecture major and kicked my butt. And I wanted to change my major, didn't know what I would change it to. And my sister said, well, Barrett, you've always been interested in radio or television. And my honest thought was, well, is it everybody? I didn't think of that as a major. I really didn't. And then I changed my major to mass media. And I started hosting TV shows, writing sports articles. I ended up being a sports producer for a radio station. I was calling all the games on the radio.
Oh, cool.
And then, I got to work with people like Kevin Fraser from Entertainment Tonight. He and I were in college together. We used to call games together. So it's just funny how that worked out. But it was something that I had always been passionate about, but never thought of it as a career. And then next thing you know, I'm working in media.
Yeah, so this is great career advice, folks, is find something that you're passionate about and see what kinds of opportunities there are in those fields, right?
I love how you said that. See what type of opportunities there are. Because I used to tell people, work your passion, always work your passion. But I said, no, work what you're good at, because people are not going to pay you for your passion. They're going to pay you for what you're good at.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you shouldn't see the opportunities with your passion. I love the way you put that. This opportunity doesn't always mean you're going to make money with it, but it's still great to experience what your passion feels like inside.
Yeah, I was talking to someone recently, a young kid, and his passion was music.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked him, well, what kind of careers and opportunities are there in the music field? And he's just thought about playing. And so, as we explored, there are dozens, if not hundreds of
Yeah.
opportunities
Yeah.
related to marketing in the music field, to
True.
sound,
That is true.
creation. There's all kinds of things that go on and managing and whatever, right? Events.
Because that's the things, see, we glorify the playing. It's just like sports. A lot of people want to be pro athletes, but only a few are going to make it as pro. But there's still so many opportunities in sports that you can be involved in and do well and still be around the game. It's just we
Exactly.
glorify the ones who are
Yeah, that's great stuff. All right, so I appreciate you sharing so much insight on the podcasting, and video's gotten to be pretty big these days.
Mhm.
And now I'm seeing shorts on YouTube, Reels, Instagram, Facebook, and so forth. What's your thought about entrepreneurs, someone who's starting out and they say, I just am not very good with video? Would you offer similar advice for them, or what's your thought?
Well, what does that mean? That's what I would say. What does that mean? You're not very good with reading. I don't know what that means.
I don't like the sound of my voice, and I look funny.
Well, my thing was, I would say this: like, get out of your own head.
Yeah, those are things I might have said, by the way.
Get out of your own head. Because once again, we're talking about ego. That's all about you. So, so let me ask you the question: are you paying for your services, or are other people paying for your services?
Yeah, other people.
So the other people need to see the video. It's not about you.
Right.
The other people, and it's not like, for instance, I hate looking at myself on camera. I hate it. So a lot of times it's funny because people ask me to send them a video for something, and I'll send it to them. They go, "Oh, that was great." I was like, "Good. I'm glad you liked it," because I didn't look at it. Because I'm famous for doing one take, and I just send it from there.
Oh,
Because
my
it was
goodness.
like I didn't look at it. I just practice it in my head or practice it without being on camera, then I'll just go with it. I just send it. I never like looking at myself on camera. I've been doing it for years.
So refreshing. How many times I edit something, I've cut it way down, but I would do so many takes on doing a video to post on social media. But
I think the
hearing
biggest
from
key for
you,
me is to always bring energy.
Mhm.
Because if I bring energy with what I'm saying, people can overlook anything that might be negative or something.
Yeah, well, that's such a good point. Is why do you want to bring the energy? What's your thought on that?
Well, one, because I don't want people to be bored. Oh, that's the number one reason. I don't want them to be bored. And I want them to feel that I need to pay attention to this person. Whatever he's talking about, I want to pay attention to it because he's got my attention. So I need to stay there with him and just be in the moment with him. And I may want to talk to him even more. I get that. That's why I get some clients, they'll tell me, "Hey, I love your energy." So
Yeah.
I want to make sure I keep that.
Yeah. So what do you do to elevate the energy? Do you ever do some kind of exercise or listen
No,
to
I
some
don't.
listens?
I know what you mean, and I know people that do, but I don't. I just Well, here's the thing. When you're doing a podcast, doing a TV show, whatever, the YouTube videos, it's entertainment at that point.
Mm.
So I just turn on the entertainment button and I just say, okay, let's have some fun. Let's just go with it. And that's the key. Have fun with it. Everything doesn't have to be, I don't care if you're talking about taxes. I mean, you can still have fun talking about it. And if you just bring energy with it, people will want to listen more afterwards if you
Yeah.
want.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of enjoying the ride.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Something you think as well, it sounds like.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
So what advice would you give small business owner leaving corporate? They look at all the things that are available. You said start with a podcast. Maybe they're still trying to figure it out. They're listening to this podcast. How would you speak to them?
Well, I would find out what is it that you want to do. First of all, don't start a podcast if you have no idea what you want to do. I work with businesses, so I literally turned someone away a couple weeks ago because they just wanted to do it as a hobby and had no business aspirations. And I told them, I said, and there's a cost for me to work with you, and there's a cost for me to produce your podcast. I said, if you have no interest in doing anything except other than a hobby, you're not going to continue being a client. So I would rather let you keep your money and find out what it is that you want to really do before we go forward. Now, if someone knows that they want to do something, I would ask them, I said, how badly do you want to reach more people? Who is your audience? Where are they? Because one of the things that we have been taught that is wrong is find out who your audience, who your avatar is, and then go where they are. And I say, no, find out who your audience is and make it so they can find you. Meaning you want to put media in various places so the people who are looking can find you no matter what medium they're using. So that way you don't get missed. And if you do that, then you'll have people that find you. I always use the analogy of the comedian Kevin Hart. I tell people, I said, I don't care if you think Kevin Hart is funny or not. You can't ignore him because he's everywhere. And he does that by design. So as a business owner, I say, why don't you? Why don't you do that by design and make it so you're everywhere? Some people will say, oh, you'll get sick of him. But you know what? You can get sick of him all you want to. You're not going to ignore him. And the same thing can be said for you. Think about it. There's a commercial that we all make. There's always a commercial that you hear over and over again. You're sick and tired of it. But it's in your head. So the thing is, make it so that they stay with you. I mean, how many times have you seen a McDonald's commercial? When you're try driving with the kid by those golden arches and see what happens.
Exactly. Yeah, it makes perfect sense. And, I appreciate you sharing this because sometimes I would say things like, oh, people are just going to be annoyed seeing me all the time. But they're not really seeing you all the time because you have to show up in their thread. And just because you're posting doesn't mean they're on that platform that day to see you, or they're spending enough time to see you show up in their thread. So they may not see you.
And even if you do, because the thing is that what you want to do is come top of mind when they need something.
Mm-hmm.
If they see you enough, when that situation comes up, you come to mind. And that's the thing. I mean, how many times have we got, there's certain people whose emails we subscribe to, and they always are sending us an email, and we sometimes just delete it without even opening it because we know it's just an email call. But then there's that one time where we need it. Exactly. And we know who to go to. And we can search all the emails, but we know that we need them because they have what we need. And it's just the same thing. You want to make sure that you stay visible to those people who are looking for you.
That's great advice. Dr. Barrett Matthews, where can the good people find more of you, sir?
Well, they can actually find me on www.com, tomoney.com. That's one place they can find me.
I like it. All right. So this guy is awesome. Make sure you find Dr. Barrett Matthews. Provides tons of value. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Harry. I appreciate your time, man.
Great stuff. Talk to you soon.
Thank you for listening to Sales Made Easy. If you found value in our conversations, please subscribe and leave a review. Our goal is to provide practical strategies for growing your business while staying true to your values. Remember, success in sales is about serving your clients. Serve first, and the selling will follow. We'll be back soon with more insights and inspiration. Until then, keep serving and providing value to others. Good things will happen.